Hello and welcome to Development on Demand. The next few minutes will be filled with the teaching that includes leadership principles and mindsets that will help you grow as a leader individually as well as those you are leading. So grab a notebook and get ready for development that we believe is best served on demand.
Okay, this is Development on Demand. This is the sixth one that I have done in this volume, talking about casting vision, galvanizing people, and implementing a dream that God has given you. And I'm excited about this one because I think it's something that a lot of leaders deal with, no matter where you're at. It is something that never goes away. It changes. It shifts, but it's never eliminated. I don't know if you have ever said the phrase, I just don't have what I need. Have you said that before? I don't have what I need. And I think the reality of that statement just merely isn't true. Ironically enough, our Pastor Stephen Furtick, has dropped a brand new book. And by the time you are listening to this, it'll been out for a couple of weeks now. Do the New You. And as you're watching this, I will have probably already been done reading it. And in essence, you could probably stop this video right now and just read that book, Do the New You, and we'll give you a lot of principles that'll be helpful to this concept. And I believe one of his mindsets that he talks about is, I'm not stuck unless I stop, is a brilliant mindset that you need in order for that phrase, I don't have what I need, to be eliminated from your vocabulary. Because here's the reality. I don't have what I need. Well, I just don't think that is true. And what I want to talk about here is how to accomplish a vision when you feel like you don't have the resources. And I'm going to title it, The Problem with If. The Problem with If. Have you ever said, if only I had this, then fill in the blank, right? If I could just do this, well, then, right? I think those kinds of statements are the statements that really get us in trouble, especially as leaders. If you're part of a team, they can get you in trouble, but as leaders, we have got to understand the power of that word, if. And the things that come before it and after it are really important. So I'm not saying the word if is wrong, but I am saying that there can be a lot of problems that come with that word if it's not used correctly. Okay? So here's the deal. So I don't have what I need, or maybe it translates into, if I had this, then I would, or if only I could be there, then, right? Here's what I want to say. You are where you are for a reason. That just is what it is. You are where you are for a reason. It is not just by coincidence. You are literally there to learn something. You are there to take that vision forward one step. You are there to take that vision forward the next 30 steps. And that could look like 3 months, that could look like 30 years. But what you need to understand is where you are right now, you are there for a reason, right? It's super important. Now, some of you may be watching this or listening to this and going, okay, this is like God confirming that I need to stay or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to, I'm not in this teaching, I'm not trying to get you to stay, and I'm not trying to get you to go, okay? I'm trying to help you understand that the phrase, I don't have what I need, or if only I had this, then I would be able to, fill in the blank, that those things are phrases, those phrases are phrases that should be eliminated from your vocabulary, especially as a leader. Okay? it's got to be eliminated. Because the reality is that if you don't believe you are there for a reason, then you have a problem trusting God. You do. You just have a problem trusting God, okay? And the fact of the matter is that's actually a lot more normal than I'm making it feel right now, right? Like even when I say that, you're probably now thinking, oh, you've had no problem in trusting God then. No, I've said if only statements. I've said, man, I don't have what I need. And if I was only at that church, then I'd be able to do this. And if I had this amount of resources, then I'd be able to do this. I've said those statements before. And what I've come to realize and what I've heard from wisdom as well, from other preachers or other teachers or other mentors or leaders, is that the reality is that everything you have right now, whether it's in your hand or whether it's in your vicinity or whether it's in your environment, everything that you have right now is everything that you need. It is what you need for this season. And so you are where you are for a reason. You gotta get to that place. Whether you are on staff at a church, whether you are a volunteer at a church, whether you are a leader of an organization, whether you are leading hundreds into a specific vision, or whether you are just a part of a vision, you feel like the smallest, minute person on that team, you are there for a reason. And if you can't understand that, everything that I'm about to say isn't going to make sense and isn't going to be used in the right way, okay? And so I'm kind of laying a little bit of a foundation right now because I think it's really, really important for us to understand these things, because we've got to be able to rest in the fact that I am here for a reason, okay? And if I have a problem with that, I need to heal in that, okay? Because we've got to get to the place where we got to stop blaming our leaders for the fact that we won't heal from that realization that I am here for a reason, okay? Because what I'll watch a lot of people do, and I've done this myself, is that I'll blame my leader for the way that I feel, not wanting to be here, because if only I had that, then I would be able to fill in the blank. Okay? Or I'll get frustrated, or people will become bitter, or people will walk away from things that they were meant to do with their life because they would not sit in just the reality of that you are where you are for a reason. Okay? So write that down. I am here for a reason. Write that down. I think that's so good for us to understand. And maybe that's really hard for you to write down. Totally fine. Totally cool. I think everything I'm saying in this first 5 minutes is probably the most important part to this whole installment of the volume. And so if you need to take a pause, if you need to take a break, push pause. That's what it's there for, okay? Push pause, come back in 2 weeks until you feel like, okay, now I understand I'm here for a reason. Okay? So one of the things that our pastor writes about in this Do the New You book is that he asks this question: do you know the you that God knew before you were in the womb? Right? Do you know that you? Right? This is a big thing that you want to be able to understand. Do you know that you? Because that's the you that we are ultimately trying to become. This is the you that we are trying to reveal to ourselves day in and day out. Every situation, every circumstance, every conversation that we have, every action that we implore, every moment that we are awake, we should want to become our most authentic self. And that is a lot different than what most people would say. But in this book, it talks about the most authentic self is the self that God knew before we were even in the womb, okay? This is super, super important, especially when it comes to accomplishing a vision when you feel like you don't have what you need, or you don't have the resources, or you don't have, and here's the deal about resources, you can start to name and list all the resources. It's really easy, right? You begin to name the limitations, if you will, one by one of why you can't do this, why you can't achieve this, why this can't happen, and why this, right? And I heard my pastor talk about it this way. Okay, great. Name those limitations. This is going to fly off the page. Great, fantastic. Now begin to name the reasons why you can. Name the things that you have actually available to you. It's kind of like a pro-con list, but it's like a limitation and a, looking forward list. There's probably something way better than that. But begin to name those things, and those take a little longer, right? But no matter how small they are, begin to name them. But once you get going, you get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you begin to name all these things that you looked at as if they were really, really small. But because now you're naming them, they're becoming a lot bigger in your eyes, which makes you realize, wait, that's actually something that I can use that I never saw as important. So here's one thing we want to understand is that leadership thrives in limitations. Woo! Man, when you experience a limitation, that's when leadership should come alive, okay? Leadership should thrive in limitations, because limitations are really just opportunities. Think about that. Limitations are really just opportunities, okay? We have a value at our church, or a code, as part of our code, but it's a value called think inside the box. And it's all about embracing limitations. Think inside the box. And I think it's funny because anytime we have guests or we host people and we kind of walk them by this value, or they see it, or people talk about it, they're like, think inside the box. Like, what do you mean? Like, Elevation does not think inside the box. Like, they are always thinking outside of the box. But here's where that value is a lot different than what you may think. Thinking outside of the box is like being creative, stretching the boundaries, getting other ideas and exploring all kinds of angles and perspectives. Well, thinking inside the box is understanding where you are in the moment, understanding the season that we are in as a church, understanding the resources that we have, understanding the amount of time that we have to be able to get this project done. That could be a limitation. That could be a box that is given. Understanding that whatever problem we are trying to solve, there is a box that has been given. And as a leader, we are now inside that box trying to make the most out of what we have been given. Right now, I am a person that is like, I am a stretch the boundary type of guy. So when you take a box, I am like the guy that's in the box. It's like, okay, cool. We're gonna think inside the box. This is how much money we have. This, like, for example, when we'll just use this example because I think it'll be helpful. We started a YouTube channel for our church 6 years ago. And on the first year, we were given a $900 budget. Now, again, I said I was a boundary stretcher. So I went in, pitched more than $900. And once I was told no, I still continued to try and shift and change language and ask different people and see what about this or what about that, right? I asked questions until I realized, okay, this is the actual box that you've been given. And notice I'm using box. A lot of you are saying limitations, okay, right? So that's a good thing that you could do. Take those limitations and put it, all right, this is the box that I've been given, okay? We had $900 for the budget in the first year. That's not a lot of money to create content. I don't know about you if you've ever created content. It's not a lot of money. You can barely buy a camera with that. Thank God we did have a camera, so we didn't have to do that, okay? But when it came to the extra elements or came to making reservations or came to hiring people or anything like that, $900, that was it. We created 167 videos that first year, okay? 167 videos that first year. Now, how is that possible? Well, 167 of those videos were absolute trash, okay? It was bonkers, okay? They were bad, okay? They were just, let's just be honest, they were horrific, okay? I don't watch any of those videos, okay? And I think when I look back at that time, there's a lot of people like, oh my gosh, like that, y'all creating this YouTube channel is awesome or whatever, it was helpful or, oh, it's funny or, you'd have all kinds of things. It'd be bad stuff too, like, yeah, this is stupid or whatever, right? And that's completely fine. However, we had a box that we could work in, and that's what we were able to do with that box. That's what we were able to do with those limitations. Let me give you another example. I remember being in ministry. I think I was 19 when I started ministry, and I was a part of a church in Dallas, Texas, and had no budget. And I was like, okay, cool. That was a limitation, no budget. Now here's the deal. We keep using. If you're the leader or the person on the team that always just talks about money, that's a problem. You're very short-sighted, very, that's not really helpful. Because if you're just thinking about resources as money, you're not thinking in different categories. You're not thinking 360 degrees, and I talk about that in previous development on demands. But let me tell you what another resource is: time. It's arguably the most valuable resource that you have. And here's the cool thing, is that we are all given the same limitation when it comes to time. We all have 24 hours in a day. That's it. No more, no less. You get 24 hours, done. So I remember at that time, when I was 19 years of age, no budget, no team. I wasn't even getting paid, so, no job, but I had a lot of time. And I remember being a part of youth ministry at that time, and I said, you know what I do have, is I got time. I have a lot of time. I was actually doing school online, and so I was always at the church. I'm talking, I was at the church till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. every single night. I'm putting up the lights that we did have. I'm cleaning them. I'm making them a little better. I'm trying to increase the quality as much as I can with the resources that I have, with the limitations that have been presented, with the box that I have been given, if you will, okay? I remember being there all the time, okay? And I made as many things as I could better with the things that I was given and with the things that I had. And in that time, I had a lot of time. And if I'm honest with you, I remember my leader always asking, like, man, why are you here all the time? And I was like, well, that's what I can give. That's what I have to offer. That is what is available to me. And I remember him just speaking life into me in that moment, encouraging me and going, telling me that time is a very valuable resource, but also helping me understand that it's not wasted, right? That if I'm gonna be where I'm at right now, then I'm going to make it 1% better. I am not going to waste a moment. I'm not gonna waste energy. I'm not gonna waste my effort. I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm not gonna waste the resources that I do have by not I'm not gonna waste all of that by allowing myself to get frustrated, to get upset, to focusing on just the bad things or the things that get me down or the things that cause me to be paralyzed and to not do anything, to not move, to not shift, to not update, to not upgrade in those little moments. And I think this is really important because when you go through different seasons, you quickly realize that your resources are changing every season. When I was 19, 20, 21, I had a lot of time. But as I would go into different seasons, it was like, okay, now maybe I've got a budget and maybe I'm getting paid now. Okay, great. But maybe I don't have as much time now. Maybe I get married and I've got a couple kids. Okay, maybe I don't have as much time as I used to. But now I have some other things that I didn't have in the previous seasons. And I think this is really, really important, understanding the power of seasons and the value of seasons, because I don't know about you, but for me, I am very much a person that is like, we will never, I like work in extremes, okay? And I operate in extremes. And I'm trying to get better at not doing that, because I think the best leaders know how to, and I've told you all this before, the extreme thing, but I think the best leaders know how to operate in fluidity, being able to go from season to season. So in one season, I'm like, that's just not what we're gonna do right now, right? And then in the next season, a year from now, we're doing the exact thing that I said we weren't going to do last year. Here's what I'm here to tell you. That's okay. That is fine, right? Seasons change. There's gonna be some seasons you need a coat, and there's gonna be some seasons you don't need a coat, right? There's gonna be some seasons where you need a budget, and there's gonna be some seasons where you're not given a budget. And you, as a leader, should be able to work in that season. Why? Because you're there for a reason. So understand the power and the value of both of those seasons. That one is actually not better than the other, right? It's really not. And maybe you're at a place where you're like, man, but I feel like I've been in this season of not having whatever, this resource, for 10 years. Okay. Well, maybe that's what you're called to do. Maybe that's what you're called to be, because maybe there's only certain people that can be that, right? There are people in this world that are called to be a number two. There are people in this world who were meant to be the support, who were meant to be the ones behind the scene. And I'm not just saying that to like make any of the behind the scenes people feel better. No. I'm serious. Like, one can't happen without the other. And then if the people who are called to be behind the scenes are trying to be the number ones, like, that's where all the confusion sets in. That's where it feels like we're forcing something. That's where it feels like, this just doesn't feel right. This doesn't, like, and that's where we're like, well, then why did that organization not work? Why did that not pan out? Why did that thing fail? Why did that ministry not go as far as we thought it should have got? Well, it's because we got people trying to be things that they're not called to be, which ultimately is because you don't value the season that you are in. I specifically remember being in a place where God told me, hey, you're not supposed to be the one. You're not supposed to be the number one right now. It would be like it's really, really important for us to understand this concept, because if you're not valuing the season that you're currently in, I don't think you'll be prepared for the season that's coming. Okay, so it would be like, oh no, like a football team. I'm a running back, okay, and you're meant to be the running back, okay. Well, and then now you're like, no, I'm supposed to be the quarterback. Well, you start to quickly realize that those two positions are completely different from each other, right? They play specific roles. And I think when you talk about the number one, you talk about the number two, or however you want to differentiate it, I think we've got to understand, like, we got to put value on the things like the number two, and values on the thing like the running back, and values on the thing like the lineman, or values on the thing like people who are behind the scenes, because that is so important to have, especially when you are thinking about being able to accomplish a vision without a specific resource, okay? Because you might be like, I ain't got the budget. Well, yeah, but you got time. Well, I ain't got the time. Yeah, but you got a really big team. Well, I ain't got someone who knows how to cast vision. Okay, well, your team's really, really good at making plans though, right? So what can you do? And again, this is a mind shift. This is a mindset shift. This is a perspective change that you've got to be able to exemplify, got to be able to do, or you're going to find yourself in trouble. Whether you're a leader or whether you're a part of a team, okay? So being able to put those values on a specific season is really, really important. Here's another part of it. You can only control what you can control, okay? Think about that. You can only control what you can actually control. Stop trying to control things that you can't control, right? Like trying to make things happen, or force, I was talking about this earlier, forcing things to happen that is outside of your control. Dude, you're just wasting resource, time, energy, effort, money, right? You're wasting that resource trying to control things that are just not in your control, okay? Craig Rochelle talks about this idea that you can only have control or growth, but you can't have both, okay? And that's something that you gotta wrestle with as a team. That's something you gotta wrestle with as a leader. Do you want control or do you want growth? It's one way or the other, okay? You really can't have, and here's the deal. For many, many years, I heard that phrase and I was like, nah, you can have both. Like, nah, you can really, really have both. Okay, but you're not gonna have both without having frustration. You're not gonna have both without leaving a wake behind that is detrimental to other people around you. You're not gonna be able to have both without having a spirit-led team, right? And so that's where you start to go, ooh, okay. Oh, what are my priorities in this? And I think a leader should be able to learn the ability to relinquish control, right? Because we got to be able to do that day in and day out when it comes to our relationship with God. Like, yo, Lord, hey, look, I know that there are some things that I'm capable of doing today, but I am not judged based off of the things that I'm capable of doing. I am judged based on the things that God told me to do today, right? Denny Duran said that, and it was something that really struck me and spoke to me. What are you supposed to do? What did God tell you to do in this season, right now, in this moment? Okay, this is really, really, really big. And I know it's easier said than done. However, it can be done. the word if, that if only, right? That word if can leave you in an imaginary space if you are not careful. And I'll be honest with you, you can have the right vision for the wrong time. You really can't. God can give you, download something within you, and it just not be the time right now. And that is okay. He's teaching you how to steward this idea that I've got something deep within me, something big that he has planned for me. But man, I want to make sure that I focus on the right things and the small things and the things in the moment so that I can continue to build. I want to take the right steps. It's like, I know that I want to have a second story one day in my house, but I still got to build the steps in order to be a part of that second story, in order to live in that second story. I still have to build the steps. Right? I can have the vision, I can have the dream. Oh yeah, one day it's gonna look like that. But if I don't build the steps, I ain't never gonna be able to get there. If I don't build the elevator, right, I'm not ever going to be able to get there. And so yes, you can have that vision, but this is not time to live in that right now. We gotta live in some of these things. I gotta live in these steps. I gotta do these 6 steps first before I get there. So look at those resources differently. Seriously, begin to list them out. Okay, what do I have though? Right? Yeah, these are my limitations, but what do I have? And start to look at those as massive resources for your current season. Well, we just don't have a building. Okay, but what do you have? What do you have? You got 10 leaders that are bought into you? There's some people that can't get 10 leaders bought into their vision. Right? But they got a building. Which one do you want? 10 leaders that'll buy into your vision, or a building? So, right? Like if you're in one, you'll want the other, and if you're in the other, you'll want the other thing. Right? It's innate in us to do this. And so how can you practice that ability to live in the things that you're given, understand the season that you're in, and operate at the highest maximum possibility for that season? And then when God shifts you into another one, okay, great. Now what does this season look like? Right? Now what does this season look like? You know what's crazy is that a little bit about me, is that I will have never experienced marriage without a kid. I will have never experienced marriage without a kid. So that time where it's just you and your wife. I don't know what they call that, the honeymoon phase, and then the next thing is you have kids. I will never experience that. But what's crazy is I could look at that and put all the limitations of what that does to my marriage, or what that does for me, or oh, poor pity me, or oh my goodness, or a frustration, or whatever it is. I could do that. I could list that. Or I could look at that in a completely different way. Well, all right, I'm never gonna have that season. Cool. And okay, if I'm never gonna have it, then why focus on it? Let me think about the season that I'm walking into. I'm walking into a season where I'm gonna become a parent and a husband at the same time. Oh, that's unique. Oh, okay. What does that begin to do for me? It should begin to start rustling up some vision for my life of oh, wait. So you think, I'm just talking to God here, right? Like, you think I can handle something like this? Because this seems like something that, man, I don't even know if I can do it, right? But then if I start to look at it in a way that is different than just the natural, innate way, that's when you begin to maximize every season that God has placed you in. And I can tell you right now, man, I never looked at that as a bad thing, right? But I remember someone telling me whoa, you'll never experience that? And I was kind of like, yeah, and cool, I don't care. Me being able to experience fatherhood and being a husband at the same time was so unique, and I learned so much. I can look back at those first 2 years and kind of laugh because I was really bad at it. I did a lot of failing. I did a lot of stupid stuff, but I almost learned exponentially. It was an exponential growth that happened in my life because of the situation like that. And so here's what I'm saying by all that. Hey, the season that you're in right now, you could have exponential growth if you would just buy in to that season. So stop looking at things of what you don't have, and if you only had this, then I would be able to do this, or if I was only there, then no. Hey, let God take care of that, right? Let God maneuver that. Let God work on that. You work on the season right now. I think it's very, very powerful for you to understand that as you're casting vision, galvanizing people, and implementing a dream that God has given you. So that's a lot. Take a deep breath. Let it download into your soul. Let God breathe on it. And I will see you for the next Development on Demand. I love you. Peace out.
Thanks so much for watching Development on Demand. Today we learned about the problem with if. Here are some questions to process through or answer with the team. After processing, drop your thoughts in the comments. What limitations are you facing in your leadership? This could be resources, people, money, space, skills, etc. And with those limitations that you're facing, what can you do? What resources are actually available to you right now? After processing with your team, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next time.